The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hi, my name's John Burgess. I want to give you a real warm welcome to tonight's Foundations for Elite Health webinar on the topic of sleep. So we've already got 25 people joined us live, so a big welcome to all of you, and anyone who's listening to the recording too. I'd like to give you another big welcome. We're just going to hold fire for just a few, maybe 1 minute, just to see if there's any latecomers that are going to join us. So I hope you're sitting relaxed, sitting back, maybe with a warm drink, and I just want you to relax and absorb the information. Just while we're waiting for a few more attendees, just want to say that this is the first webinar of what is now a second series of Foundations for Elite Health webinars. I'm really glad to be opening up this second series with the first webinar of this series. Just to share what these are designed for, these webinars are designed to help inspire people to take control of their health and move towards what we call elite health by getting nutritional support to do so. So please feel free to join in and listen to as many of these webinars as you wish. They're happening Monday to Thursday, both this week beginning the 10th of September, and the following week as well. You also may be finding this by the recording in our YouTube channel. And again, there are an array of different webinar recordings for you to explore and learn more. So a little bit about me. I've been working in health and wellness and fitness for over 20 years now, and it really is my passion to inspire positive health improvements by educating people, empowering people to take care of themselves. And it really is my pleasure, and I'm really glad to be sharing this evening's webinar with you. What we're going to be covering in this webinar tonight is, well, first of all, we're going to talk about the problem of sleep. Number two, we're going to then move on to the impacts that poor sleep plays in many people's daily lives, so we can have an understanding of that. And then thirdly, we're going to talk about some important solutions you can take to improve, nutritional solutions you can take to look at improving your sleep. So we've had more people join us now live on the webinar, and the numbers are still increasing. So thank you for joining us. If you've just joined us, you've caught it in time. You've missed the introduction, but we're going to go into the webinar now and talk more about sleep. This real topic I'm passionate about, as I've read more, learnt more, been on courses, to see the links with sleep and many kind of other health issues that can be impacted, and sometimes the root cause of those health concerns have been down to poor quality sleep. So without further ado, let's move into the presentation. So as I'm waiting for the slide to change, interestingly enough, poor sleep, the US Centers for Disease Control and Prevention has called insufficient sleep an epidemic. I mean, I know there's a lot of epidemics out there, like the diabetes epidemic and the heart disease epidemic. Well, insufficient sleep is also in epidemic proportions. Nearly half of us are getting just 6 hours or less a night. And actually, there was a Sleep Council survey that showed that 4 out of 5 people complain of disturbed or inadequate sleep. So this really is a huge problem in the Western world as well, particularly because half of Britons say that stress or worry keeps them awake at night. Half of Britons. So it really is about, for many people as well, the racing mind. It's about, well, what's happened in that day, also what's happening tomorrow, and the worrying around those things. And the knock-on effect is huge when it comes to our professional lives as well, because if we wake at least twice, and it only has to be for a few minutes in an evening, well, it's shown that there's been a 24% reduction in productivity in various studies that have taken place to show that. So it really does impact us, and I know many of you listening to this webinar right now, the recording, will identify with some of the problems we're going to go into next. So maybe some of these images are very familiar to you. So what I want to say really here is, well, hands up or comment in the boxes, in the chat line that you can see in the function of the webinar. Comment if you didn't get enough sleep last night. Just put me in the chat box if that was you. And in fact, what I also want to know is, well, was it the getting off to sleep that was the tricky part for you? Was it the staying asleep? Or was it that you got off to sleep and stayed asleep, but you just feel tired in the morning and you're not getting restful sleep? You're feeling tired, lethargic, and struggling to get going in the morning. So the quality of your sleep isn't good enough. So you might want to put in the chat box, for example, getting off or staying asleep, or the third option would be poor quality. And that'd be just interesting to see, just really from those of you listening, what the challenges are that are related to you. So as we're waiting for some of those comments to come in, I'm going to move on to the next slide. And this next slide is going to talk about, well, the impact that sleep is having on a day-to-day basis for many, many people. So the impacts, well, you know, something I know many of you will already be aware of, but you don't need to know how you do not know, sorry, how sleep deprived you are until you're sleep deprived. It's one of those instances where you don't know what you don't know. You only know what you know. So until the sleep improves, you don't know how much better you can feel generally. And there are many problematic negative effects from poor sleep that I'm sure many of you listening might be experiencing. And each have their own debilitating impact and can lead to further problems to both our mental health and our physical health. So, so let's take a look at some of these. Well, the first one in the top right-hand corner, emotionally, physically, and mentally tired. And I think it's the one that everybody notices when they struggle with sleep. And I'm dealing with people on a daily basis, and clients and people I work with who have been struggling with sleep at some stage. And you know, this has a real knock-on effect to many other aspects of our lives if we're emotionally, physically, and mentally tired. Just to think about that for a moment, when we're in that place of tiredness, well, it can be very difficult to have motivation on a regular basis, or enthusiasm even. It challenges our function, as well as us personally and professionally, you know, to be able to be mentally alert and have energy to do the things we want to do, whether it's doing our hobbies or having the enthusiasm or motivation to do exercise, or whether it's just performing well at work, whether you're working for someone else or whether you've got your own business, you know, to get the best out of yourself that day and progress in your professional careers and business careers, then, you know, it's going to be important that you have good energy levels. Emotionally, well, it's believed that sleep deprived people, well, it actually then links to 60% amplification in emotion reactivity. So what this means is that there's a 60% increase in the way we emotionally react to things if we're sleep deprived. So many of you, again, might be experiencing this and feeling that you get into very emotional conversations with people. Maybe there can be a more emotional outburst of anger and frustration, for example, that could be linked to the tiredness that's linked to the poor quality sleep. So again, this has a real knock-on effect in our communication, and that can affect us both in our personal lives and our professional lives. Then you've got our concentration and memory that can be impacted. The ability to recall things, concentration, to be able to hold our attention in a given task for long periods of time can be really impaired. And actually this links to studies found with increased risk of car crashes. Something I've often thought about actually is the links between the number of road traffic accidents and poor quality sleep. Well, actually there's been studies done, and it showed that for people who had less than 5 hours of sleep a night, then they were 3 times more likely to get at risk of a car crash. Now, when it really increases is when it's 4 or less hours in a night of sleep, and that increases to 11 times more at risk of car crashes. So, you know, this is really something that can be really serious, actually, is to get better or to do the best you can to get the best sleep you can. So then there's stress. Well, not sleeping adds to daily physical and mental stresses. You know, that's the obvious one I think a lot of people feel, and we talked about the emotional links, so people can have shorter fuses or feel more grumpy because they're tired, and that leads to not only the mental stress of feeling negative, but that has a physical impact on our body. So people can get more tension headaches, for example, that could be related to stress, that could be related back to poor quality sleep. And then of course we know, well, physical stress can be shown in tension in the shoulders as well, in the muscles, so the body can become more tense, and then actually that can lead to pain in the body as well. So so both physical and mental stress can be related. So also you'll see here the immune system. Well, there was a study done of 150 healthy men and women. Sleep, they were people who their sleep was measured, and they were all given live cultures of common cold squirted up their noses. Now, for those people who had less than 5 hours sleep a night, their infection rate was almost 50%. 50% of the people who had 5 or less hours sleep became infected with this common cold. Now, those who had 7 or more hours of sleep, their infection rate was just 18%. So there's been many, many studies and research done to show that sleep, good quality sleep and enough sleep, has an important influence in the health of our immune systems. Now, immune systems link in very closely to disease pictures, because we know the healthier our immune system, the better we are at fighting various disease pictures. So moving on to the links to disease. Well, heart disease, interestingly enough, has been linked to unhealthy sleep. And unhealthy sleep basically equals unhealthy heart. A Japanese study showed that 4,000 male workers over a 14-year period, so a very kind of thorough study. Now, it showed that those who slept 6 or less hours were 400 to 500% more likely to suffer 1 or more cardiac arrests than those that were sleeping more than 6 hours. So a significant increase in the risk of cardiac episodes, cardiac arrests for people who have less than 6 hours sleep, it shows. So there is a strong link to the heart health and sleep. Also, Alzheimer's disease. 1 in 10 adults over the age of 65 actually, unfortunately, suffers from Alzheimer's disease. 1 in 10 over 65s. Now, 60% of patients with Alzheimer's have at least one clinical sleep disorder. So over half of the people with Alzheimer's have sleep disorders. So, there is a strong link there as well. And if you want more information on both of those, both the heart health and the link to Alzheimer's, well, I'd recommend you read a book by Matthew Walker called Why We Sleep. And there's an array of scientific evidence and numerous studies that he uses in that book to share the importance of sleep. And also there's links in there about diabetes. And chronic sleep deprivation is now recognized as one of the major contributors to the escalation of type 2 diabetes throughout first world countries. And sleep is a preventable contribution. So it's something that really can be within our power once we have the solutions and the knowledge to have a positive impact on it. And then we've got weight gain as well. And there are hormones related to weight, to our hunger. So there are two hormones you need to know. One with when it comes to weight loss as well, and that's ghrelin and leptin. Now, ghrelin basically creates a strong sensation for hunger. And leptin is a hormone that gives us a sense of feeling full. And both are influenced when we sleep. So if we don't get enough good sleep, then our levels of ghrelin increases, and therefore we have a stronger sensation for hunger. If we don't get enough sleep, we don't create as much of the leptin that is needed for a sense of feeling full. So this is why people who aren't getting enough sleep will feel tired, and both of those will cause them to crave more sugar generally. Plus the stress impact. Stress causes us to create more of a need for energy, and the quickest way to get energy is sugar. So from both the poor sleep and the stress will create a greater desire for hunger and for sugar. And then you've got the hormone linked in too with the ghrelin. So, the excess appetite can really happen for people who are getting poor sleep, and that can lead to the weight gain as well. So there are strong links there too. And then you've got finally the aches and pains. And I've certainly worked with people over years who were having unexplainable ongoing aches and pains, which once we got them sleeping well, started to clear up, funnily enough. So if you've been having niggly pains that you haven't got to the bottom of, and various physio treatments haven't been the answer, then it could be that you need to look at improving the quality of your sleep and the number of hours that you're sleeping for as well. Remember, sleep is where we're getting both our physical and our mental rest and repair. It's so important. I personally believe we're living busier lives now than ever before. Life is fast-paced as well, much faster than it was years ago. And so our need for quality rest and recuperation is greater now than it's ever been needed before. So sleep is, I believe, as important now than it's ever has been. And I used to, as a health and wellness coach, believe that nutrition was, really, really important, because if we couldn't live without food for more than a month generally, then that was very highly important. But actually, sleep deprivation, people would die of not getting enough sleep before they die of not having any nutrition. So I've really put this as at a higher priority to sort out and improve in people than nutrition actually. So funnily enough, though, nutrition can be the link to getting good sleep, which I'm going to talk about. So you can see the impact it's having on people's overall health, and the links to many different pictures in their day-to-day lives. So let's talk about the solutions. And there are many, many solutions, more than I could cover in this half an hour presentation now. And I'm just going to touch on 4 key areas. Whenever I'm doing a talk, a workshop on improving sleep, I always talk about these 4 key areas to get right. And one is the mind. Make sure that your mind is open to getting a better night's sleep, and we're not repeating to ourselves over and over again, telling ourselves we're a poor sleeper and expecting a bad night every night. Even though that's been the case in the past, I recommend that you put in positive affirmations, or certainly keep your mind open to getting a better night's sleep, or for it improving. So be mindful of the words and language you use around your sleep. Also, preparation before getting to bed is really important. Really is the key, is to, start to unwind, disconnect from social media and devices, etc. And there's a lot out there now about sleep hygiene and making sure you're eating and drinking the right things before bed. Also, the environment that you're sleeping in, the right, making sure it's dark enough, the right temperature. All of these things are important. And then fourthly, the nutrition is also important, and I'm going to talk about that now. So when it comes to nutrition, there are many things that you can do to improve your sleep, and I'm going to talk about some programs and some nutritional supplements that I've been using very effectively with many clients, and having some very positive results on the back of doing so. And it's all around focusing on improving your health, achieving what we call elite health, which is where you can unlock your potential and be the best version of you. And so in order to get better health, it's about giving ourselves and our bodies the right nutrition. And there are a few things here that we're going to share and talk about. So number one, the first image you see, the group of drinks and supplements there, that's what's called a purification program. And I've had over 60 people do that this year, that program, of which many of them have experienced benefits in their morning energy and their depth and quality of sleep. And people who are struggling and waking up at night or struggling to get off to sleep, noticing that they're now sleeping throughout the night. Why? Because they're doing this 21-day program that is involving cleaning up our diet, taking out the sugar and the stimulants from our diet for 21 days and certain foods as well. And on top of that, taking certain supplements that are designed to support our gut health, and therefore the links to gut health and brain health are huge now and well documented. And so it's having a positive influence on the way they feel, emotionally, mentally. People are becoming more relaxed on the back of doing the program. And then if they're more relaxed, they're getting deeper, more restful sleep and not getting disturbed and woken up. So I'm not going to go through all of the program right now. I just wanted to mention it because it's a great program to do. And for me, that would be the ideal scenario for somebody to go through to move themselves towards elite health. It's not a program that just helps sleep. It's something that people notice many other benefits from becoming lighter and losing weight, to improvements in their hair, skin and nails, to improvements in reducing their waistline and cardiovascular health and beyond. So it's something to consider and inquire about if you're looking for more information on that. Okay, bottom left, there is a drink here called Pro Argi9. And what's important to know here is that there is an amino acid in this drink called L-arginine. And what L-arginine does is it produces something called nitric oxide through the endothelial cells in our arteries. And so what you need to know is that nitric oxide, the very thing it produces, supports REM sleep cycles. And it also boosts growth hormones. So it's allowing our bodies to get a deeper, more restful experience, and so people are feeling more refreshed in the morning and their bodies getting a better quality rest and repair. Now, according to the European Journal of Neuroscience, nitric oxide improves recovery sleep. Interestingly enough, insomnia lowers nitric oxide levels, and low nitric oxide levels worsen insomnia. So it really can be this vicious cycle going round and round. The solution: increase your nitric oxide levels. And actually the L-arginine in the Pro Argi9 drink helps to boost up nitric oxide levels. So there's a really strong link there. Also in the drink, you've got B vitamins, and these are very helpful for stress. And so I know for many people, stress can be the trigger for a poor night's sleep. So there's benefits that way. People take this drink 5 minutes before bed, and they're finding they're getting better quality sleep throughout the night for doing so. That's the feedback I'm getting from many of the clients I'm working with. Next along, you'll see the Body Prime. So the Body Prime is our magnesium supplement. Now, insomnia is a common symptom of magnesium deficiency. People with low magnesium often experience restless sleep, waking frequently throughout the night. Maintaining healthy magnesium levels often leads to deeper, more sound sleep. And it also plays a role in supporting deeper restorative sleep by maintaining levels of what's called GABA. It's a neurotransmitter that promotes sleep. So magnesium helps to produce and to keep a healthy maintenance of this GABA. Now, magnesium can also help insomnia that is also linked to restless leg syndrome. And if you're also getting muscle cramps at all, then that can often be a strong link to magnesium deficiency too. So Body Prime is a very absorbable source of magnesium that can help. And then the final one you'll see is the Biome DT. Now, the reason I'm sharing this here is there is a really great documentary on TV by Dr. Michael Mosley called The Truth About Sleep. It was on about a year ago or so. And he did a number of different studies with people on that program. And the thing that helped the most was a prebiotic fiber drink. And that's exactly what the Biome DT is. It's a prebiotic green fiber drink. So if you know you're someone who struggles a bit with your gut health and needs support there, then there may have been links with your gut health and your ability to sleep. And so that could be a really good avenue to try and to go for to make improvements. So I hope you found that beneficial. I'd love to get your comments and feedback both on social media or in the chat box here in the webinar. I've certainly known people have real benefits for using some of these programs and products. And we have a couple of people who have some success stories on how they've helped themselves. And so I'd like to invite into the call Jane Mullen. Hopefully we can hear you, Jane, and you can unmute yourself. Otherwise, I could try and unmute you now here. Are you there, Jane?
Yeah. Hi, John. You okay?
Yeah, great. Thanks. How are you?
Brilliant. Well rested and wide.
Well rested. Great. So, Jane, it's quite quiet, the line. So if you could speak up. But Jane, what did your sleep used to be like a while back before?
Well, to be fair, John, I used to sleep, but I wasn't sleeping well. And it wasn't until I started taking the Pro-Arginine and the Body Prime that I realized how badly I was sleeping. And I was suffering with a lot of anxiety as well. And I found by taking the Body Prime, that just totally eliminated that. So therefore, less anxiety, less sleepless nights. And well, not, like I say, when I say sleepless, I would sleep, but it wasn't a good sleep, you know. So yeah, it's just been amazing, really. I love it.
Yeah, the Body Prime and the Pro-Arginine is such a great combination because you've got the magnesium to deal with rest, you've got the B vitamins to help with the rest, and the nitric oxide doing its work from the L-arginine. So it really, a lot of people find that those two together particularly are helpful. So what's been the positive impact on you now that your sleep's improved and you're feeling more refreshed, I suppose, in the morning, I guess?
All day. Just powered by Synergy. I run a couple of businesses. I've got a couple of kids, and because I'm sleeping so well, my energy is just off the rails. It allows me to do a lot of cool things that generally, because I was not having such a good sleep, I'd be exhausted all the time. Come 3:30, 4 o'clock, I'd want to just pass out. But unfortunately, life doesn't allow you to do that, and that's not really what I want to do anyway. And I just started taking the product, and all of a sudden I'm doing calls this late at night, whereas I'd just be out and then I'd wake up in the middle of the night. I mean, I just like that it's giving me more freedom, and you know, my body's keeping up with my mind, which is nice.
Oh, it's great to hear. And you know, energy levels are so precious, and it's great to hear it's giving you that energy. And I know that's having a knock-on effect in your life, isn't it, with exercising and other things that you're doing. So
Oh, unbelievable. I mean, I've just turned 50 and I'm now training 3 times a week with a professional boxer, and I can't believe what I'm doing. I just cannot believe what I'm pulling off each week. And I know if I didn't have my products or get a good night's sleep, have a clear mind, I mean, it's just, Yeah, it's just brilliant. I absolutely love the benefits of it. And I love that it's all naturally sourced as well, and food-based for the most part. It's great.
Jane, really appreciate you sharing your story. I'm so pleased you're enjoying your benefits, and you're living that energetic life now. So thanks, Jane.
Yeah, no worries. Thank you, John. Bye.
Take care. Bye bye. We've also got Julia Rewald on the call as well. So hopefully, Julia, you can unmute yourself. Are you there, Julia?
Yes, I am. Hi, John. Hi, everyone.
Cool. Hello. So yeah, you used to struggle with your sleep before?
Massively, and I mean, it's quite shocking what you said. Some of the statistics about the amount of sleep or the issues you're running into if you have less than sort of 6 or 5 hours of sleep. I've always been a person who got away with very little sleep, and I was always super energetic until sort of life took over, I suppose, and I had kids and then my own business and different things that happened. Now I found myself at a point in life where it was literally like autopiloting through life, and I put that down to the fact that I had 3 children. I had prematurely born twins. I had been breastfeeding those twins, so talking about sleep deprivation, they were like 11 months without sleep in between, so or power naps really, and I put it all down to the fact that I just couldn't really focus on anything anymore. I just did my most important stuff through the day. I then changed my nutrition. I took some supplements, and the Proardia was one of them, and what we call the V3 system, so which is similar to something like the BioMD-T, so the green, so really nourished and fueled my body right, which I didn't actually do for myself. I didn't expect any changes for myself. I did it to do it with someone else and motivate someone else who's very important in my life. And I couldn't believe the changes. And one key moment was where I used to read a good night story to my eldest son in bed, and I fell asleep every night without fail whilst I was reading, and he woke me up. Now, 2 days into taking these extra supplements, he looked at me and he said, "Mum, you haven't fallen asleep. Well done." And my 5-6-year-old son, who is excited from me not having fallen asleep whilst reading a story to him. And that was such a key moment where I thought, hang on, what's happening here? So all of a sudden I had more energy to actually stay awake and focus. But even more, what I realized then from that moment on, I sort of was a bit more alert, and I thought, well, actually, when I woke up earlier in the morning and I could do more. I didn't wake up anymore without being completely drained and dragging myself through the day and hating the fact that I had to get up because I was just, I didn't have a good night's rest. I woke up refreshed, and I woke up full of energy. And all of this weight loss was became part of the journey, as you mentioned. I mean, I said emotionally, mentally, physically, so many things that I've been able to cope with since. The loss of my horse, which I had to put down, which sort of was my first child really, long before I had the children, and I had to put him down. That was a very traumatic experience for me. I couldn't touch horses for many years, although I've been living with horses all my life. And all of a sudden I had the energy one morning to say, well, I go again, and I go to a yard and I just go riding again. I did it. And all those things, this emotional, physical strength that you get through getting deep sleep, proper sleep, and quality sleep is just amazing. And then later on, the Body Prime and this Purify kit that you said came along, and again, things have improved still. The Body Prime especially. So yeah, all I can say is to anyone, just give it a go. You have nothing to lose. It's phenomenal what life you get back.
Thank you so much for sharing that. I'm really pleased how they're working for you, how it's helped your life, and you've again highlighted just how important sleep is, and really, supported from a life experience how the importance of this topic really, and it's both digestive health and the quality of sleep are at the core of elite health, as we call it. So thank you so much for sharing, Julia.
Pleasure.
So thank you to both Jane and Julia for contributing and sharing your success stories. And I hope you found this webinar to be beneficial. If you'd like to find out more information about the Purification 21-day program, or if you want to find out more about any of the individual supplements or discuss this topic further, then speak to the person who shared this webinar with you, or the link to this recording with you, to find out some more information, really, or how you can order them if you wanted to give them a try yourself. I can vouch for the quality and for the impact it's had on the many people I work with, and I'd love it to have a positive impact on your health moving forwards. So just to finish, tomorrow night's webinar, we've got the lovely and very knowledgeable Liz James doing tomorrow night's webinar, and that's going to be linking into IBS and digestive health. So if you know anybody, or you yourself is challenged in that way, then you definitely want to be jumping on to Liz's webinar. And Liz is just a wonderful personality. She's got such great passion and has an array of knowledge working in nutrition for many years. Also on Sunday, we've got our Discover Synergy calls. So if you want to learn more about who Synergy are, the company, the quality, the testing, or maybe even the business opportunity, if that's something you're looking for, then you can use the same link that you used for tonight's webinar to check out and listen into the Sunday evening webinar. So, and remember, there's future webinars. So we have an image which has all of the webinars over the next 2 weeks available. And if there's any more that interest you, or that you know other people, maybe share the link with friends, family, colleagues who you think are interested in improving their health and would want to learn more and take a look at what we've got to offer. So with that, enjoy the rest of your evening, enjoy the rest of your day if you're listening to the recording, and I look forward to connecting with you in the near future. Thank you very much for listening in, and I wish you the very best of health.